Hi guys, welcome. Let's get to talk about Android Bottom Bar, in which the feel and behavior is defined in the XML. We'll also be integrating external fonts as the menu title. Let's get started. Right there in Android Studio, I have the source and I'll be explaining in details on how to achieve a coherent Android bottom bar integration. In Build Gradle, the module app, we'll be integrating the library from the Roughike Bottombar 2.0.2. This is a renewed version, quite much cleaner and with more functionality out of the box. So you have to include this library, very important, and also the Android support design. You can include your particular version that you're running on your Android Studio. So once you have that, you can sync Gradle and set your application ready. I will be taking advantage of different screen sizes, which is the tablet and also for the phone. So we're actually going to be creating some layouts to actually take cognizance of that. So for us to actually see that very well, I'll be toggling to the project directory to have all full structure of our app. So we're actually going to be heading straight to the rest. The rest is where a lot of things are being done right there. We actually shifted a lot of logic from the Java class to the rest. So once you have that structured, you can easily call them in your classes without much spaghetti-like code. So let's get to look at that. In the layout, we have another layout created, which is for 600 pixels or dp's screens, which is predominantly to the tablet. And if you should notice in the values, we have also for the 600 and the 820 dp's pixels for tablets and phablets. And we also have for the version 21 Lollipop and above because it has a different flow from version 21, where Android material designs are being integrated into Android fully. So that's why we have the values for that. So I'll be looking closely into them. Let's get to look at the layouts so that we understand how the application looks. This is like a demo where you can actually take some snippets and use in the course of your application. We're actually going to be talking about two different flows. Majorly, we'll be looking at the changing tabs, where we're going to have 3 tabs to depict that. We're also going to be having the custom colors and fonts, where we get to use the custom fonts right there in the assets. And the third will be the 5 tabs that will be changing colors. So we have the fourth as 3 tabs with quick return. So it's actually returns quickly. And the 5th will be badges. So you can also use badges right there in your bottom bar. So I'm actually going to be talking about them in this course. So we have that as the activity main. So on click of each of these buttons will take you to their corresponding Android bottom bar, which I've just mentioned. The 3 tabs, the custom colors, the 5 tabs with changing colors, the 3 tabs with quick return, and the using badges. So we have that set up in the activity main, which will actually set an on-click listener to that. Now let's look at the color changing tabs. This is actually the second is going to be the second. So we have the text view right sitting on top here. So this is actually going to be your main content, as you're seeing right there. And we included the bottom bar tabs as actually with that you're going to have the bottom bar right at the bottom of your screen, and you assign an ID to that called bottom bar, layout with an height, match parent, and 56 dp respectively. And you will also need an XML resource. Without an XML resource, where are you going to get those menu from? So we'll be looking at the XML after talking about this layout. The XML for this particular bottom bar layout is called the tabs color changing. So we actually have that right there. XML, the bottom bar tabs color changing, which is right here. So in here we have different menu. The first is the recent, calling from the drawable recent, which you can see right there. And the second is for the favorites. The third is for like a location and a nearby location. We have that depicted with the icon. Another one is for the friends, while the last one is for food. You can see that with cutleries, so you can understand that. So we actually have different drawable for that, for large screens, for mobile, which is for smaller screens, which we have in MDPI, XHDPI, XX, and XXX. So this is actually going to pick based on the screen size we are actually running the code on. So back to the layout. So we have that setup, calling the tab XML resource, and the behavior now will be the under the navbar, shifting under the navbar. So we'll get to look at that when we are trying to test that out. So that's for the changing colors. Let's look at the custom color and fonts. This is where we get to use custom fonts, where we call on the assets. We get to look at how we actually create that. We have the main content right there as the text view, and the bottom bar, cool, where we have the layout written height set appropriately. Now we also point down to the tab XML. We need some menu for that particular bottom bar, and this time we're pointing to the bottom bar tabs 5. So we have that right there in the XML. I'll quickly look at that. So we have it set up. Now if we should look at this, we have the drawable, calling the recent, the favorite, also nearby, friends, and cutleries, which is for the restaurant. So this is quite different from the color, because now in the color we add the bar color when selecting. So we actually change the color when it's been selected, but now we just have it's set up without no color. So that's the essence of that. But we're actually going to be having a customized color font. So let's get to look at how we're going to do that. The behavior is shifting, and in active tab alpha 0.3, now we have an active tab color, which we've actually set an active color to that, calling the color accent. We have that set up with kind of pink, and we have another one called active tab color, so also calling the color accent. Now let's look at the way we actually added up our typeface, which is calling on the fonts, which we are actually added right there in the assets. We have that set up right here, so you can easily add fonts into your Android source and use them up in the course of the custom bar, or in the course of any layout in Android. But we're actually specifically using this in the bottom bar. And if you should notice, we point down to the fonts, the Great Vibes Regular, which we have right there, over there. So now the title of each menu will actually be using this particular type of font. Now we have the text appearance, which is calling the custom title text appearance, which is right there from the styles XML. Let's get to look at how the styles XML actually is. This from the values. We get to have the styles.xml calling the custom title text appearance with a text size of 23xp and the text style of bold. So we should understand that we're having that as customized to it. So we've been able to clear that out, and we'll be adding further. Now we'll be going through the activity 3 tabs. Now just only 3 menus, or let's say 3 tabs right there at the bottom bar. Now we also have the main content, just a text view. You can decide to tweak this to different layouts. You can decide to add fragments to that if you need to do more complex thing with the main view. The major focus is the bottom bar. Now the bottom bar here, we add an ID with an height, match parent 60 dp respectively. Align the parent bottom to be true. Now we also call on another XML resource here, which is called the bottom bar tabs 3. Let's get to look at that XML. Okay, we have that set up, just only favorites, nearby, and friends with their appropriate icons. So we have that set up with the title as well. If you should notice, we have the site titles, favorites, nearby, and friends. The same thing goes for the tabs 5, where we have the title. Now we are changing the title of the tabs 5 to use the customized fonts. So I want you to understand what we're actually doing here. So we have the title as well: favorites, nearby, friends, and food. So head straight back to the activity 3 tabs. So we have that as set up. So you can easily pick any one of them. This is not a must that you have to use all this layout in your application. You can decide to use the activity 3 tabs, or you can decide to use the color changing tabs, the custom color and fonts, and you can even use the 3 tabs quick succession, which you'll be looking right there now. This is for the 3 tabs in quick succession, and we actually use a nested scroll view as the content area for this particular tab or main content. So we have that set up so that it's actually going to be scrollable. That's the essence of that. And we had a bunch of text view, a lorem ipsum text view into that, so that can be something different if you're actually using it for your course of production or your application. Now we have the bottom bar set up again. This time it's going to be pointing out the XML bottom bar tabs 3, which is the same one we actually called earlier for the 3 tabs. So we're going to look at it again: the favorites, nearby, and friends. So you have that set up, and now there's something different here. This is in quick return, which we have the behavior. Look at it under the nav bar with a shy, so it actually returns quickly. So that's the essence of the behavior. We have different behavior for each one. The 3 tabs, let's get to look at the behavior. No behavior for that because we just have it as a static 3 tabs. The color changing, we have a behavior, the shifting under the nav bar, and the color custom and the font. We also have a behavior for that. We have a behavior, yeah, shifting, and so we can actually use the top and get yourself ready with the bottom bar integration. We also need to look at the Java class, so we move straight back to the Android. So we have a simple code hierarchy, and let's get to look at the main activity, which actually going to tie every other layout together. Set the content view to the activity main. We know how the activity main is, with 5 different buttons that points down to each activity. The first one is the 3 tabs, the 5 tabs changing colors, the quick return. Set on click listener to that immediately. The 5 tabs custom colors and the badges. Now let's get to point down to each of the IDs and to their different classes. If the ID is simple 3 tabs, because you need to override the onClick method when you set an onClick listener to a button. Now because we are setting it to a bunch of buttons, that's why we have to use a switch statement to actually bind all of them one at a time. And this actually moves to the 3 tabs activity. For the tabs changing colors, it moves to the 5 color changing tabs activity. For the tabs quick return, it actually has its own activity as well. For the custom colors and fonts, with its appropriate activity, and for the badges as well, for the badge activity. So we'll get to look at each one of this activity. For the badge activity, we have it set up this way: the onCreate always, calling the activity 3 tabs. We have that set up, and the message, which is the text view, which we actually have above the bottom bar tag. And also now let's look at the way we initialize the bottom bar, calling the ID bottom bar. That's for the activity 3 tabs. We have it right there again. This ID is what we actually call the bottom bar. Fine. Now we're going to set untap select listener to the bottom bar object, in which we will need to override a method called untap selected, passing the tab ID integer as a parameter. We need to have an ID of the tab selected, so very important. And now once you select that, you could change the message view to set the text to something different. If you're actually using a fragment, you can replace fragment at the point of selecting a tab. So that's just what that is. If you are trying to extend this more and make it more robust, and you can also set on tab reselect listener again when you are reselecting, which you have to override on tab reselected and taking up the tab ID as the parameter. So now you have a toast for you to know the particular tab that is being called, and you can actually use this ID to depict what kind of fragment you'll be loading to a particular tab selected or not. So I think that's the essence of the tab ID, to be able to identify the particular tab that was clicked. So from there you can be able to attach a fragment to that particular ID or attach another layout to that particular ID. Majorly it's going to be a fragment because you're actually using an activity, and you can decide to use a bunch of fragments in an activity. So this is when the tab is reselected. And for the nearby, well, we get the ID to be tab nearby. Can you see where we have been able to pick the tab nearby, where we have it right there in the XML. Let's get to look at the XML. The tabs 3, the tabs nearby over here, this ID. So you have that selected. Once you have that selected, it's actually going to set the badge count to 5 on that particular icon. So that's where you're using the badge count. This is the sense where you want to have a badge count set up with it. That's set. Now let's get to look at other classes that were called from the main activity. We have the custom color and font. This is where we use a particular font right from the assets directory, and you have that set up with the layout. Also, we have the message view right sitting above the bottom bar, and the same way we were able to initialize the bottom bar right at the badge activity, we're also going to do that in the custom color and font activity, where you set on tab select listener, where you have to override on tab selected, and you can set on tab reselect listener, where you need to override on tab reselected, passing the ID. The ID is important if you want to extend more with this code. The color changing tabs activity, also the same flow with what we've had earlier. The same thing goes with the 3 tabs activity and the tabs QR activity. So these are just the structure of how to actually get yourself acclimatized with the bottom bar. If you notice, a lot of work has been done in the XML, the rest, while you have just few functionality right there in the Java class, which makes your work much more easier and cleaner. So your integration will just be focused on the Java class to actually inflate fragments and extend more on the layouts, not start writing spaghetti code to actually construct the tabs itself, the bottom bar, and doing a lot of funky things. So with the library out of the box, the XML has been able to do a lot of stuff to actually make the layout sit well across all screen sizes in Android. So take advantage of that, and you can extend more on this if you really want to use it in your application, in your layout. The bottom bar has come to stay, and it's actually working perfectly and silk. So this is just the structure of how to get yourself working with the Android bottom bar using the library in question. Now let's get to look at the Android manifest. In the manifest, you need to register the activities you actually used from the main activity. So we have the 3 tabs activity, the 5 color changing tabs activity, the budget activity, and the custom color and font activity, which we actually used in the course of the application, so that you won't have your code crashing because we actually inflated different activities. So at this point, I'll be stopping here, and I'll be showing you the emulator to actually see how the flow is, so we can actually appreciate the Android bottom bar. So don't go anywhere. Here we go with the application right there in the emulator. Check out the samples and the source for the most basic use cases. Therefore, the simple example with 3 tabs, the custom colors and fonts, 5 tabs with changing colors, 3 tabs with quick return and using badges. Let's get to click one of them. The first one, 3 tabs. Get to see what happened. If you notice, we have 3 tabs as set, favorites, nearby, and friends. Favorites is highlighted, being the one in focus. Now let's get to look at the nearby. The content for nearby change, so you can actually replace fragments here or do something funky with this content side. And we have for the friends. Okay, that's fine. Let's go back to use the custom color and fonts. If you notice, we have a custom color and the fonts quite different for recent. Now let's get to see for the favorites. Cool. Because I'm using emulator, it might not look too clear, but rather on your phone, it's actually going to be crystal clear. For nearby, different fonts, and for friends, even for food, can you see that with a customized font? 5 tabs with changing colors. Now that's for the recent with a kind of pink background. Let's get to look for the favorites. Can you see the color changed for the bottom bar, and for the nearby we have a sort of purple. For friends, another color, while for food, another color like yellow. So that's the color changed. Bottom bar, fine. Let's get for look at the 3 tabs with quick return, where we have the nested scroll view. You can see the bottom bar disappears when you're scrolling, and when the scroll is in focus again, the bottom bar appears. Once you're scrolling upwards, it disappears. Once you're scrolling downwards, it appears. That's the essence of the nested scroll view we used. And for nearby, a quick return, and for the friends, we have that set as well. Let's get to look at the last one, which is the badges. Now, if you should notice that the nearby we have like 5 accounts. Let's click on that. It disappears. Since you want to check those counts, it actually disappears and you won't have any notification anymore. When you have a friend, it appears again. So those are just the different flows when it comes to bottom bar. You can decide to pick any one of them and use in the course of the application. I'll be uploading a source code to my GitHub account, and I will be employing you to lay your hands on them and get yourself acclimatized with the use of the bottom bar in Android. And one more thing, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So I'm always cut out and committed to give you the best. Thank you guys, and catch you up in the next tutorial. Bye bye for now.